Have a seat, and we'll get through the next chapter.
Okay, hopefully this will be cheerier than the last one.
Yes.
Okay, that would be
Well, this
lovely.
is back to Paris, so we're sort of doing a little bit of travel in the Burke and Hare.
All right.
Okay. We're reading from the Bavarian Airship Regatta, and we are very close to the end. The chapter is called Back to Paris. Sparky read the letter from the Queen a couple more times, both to extract every possible meaning that the Queen might have placed in her words, and also to memorize the letter. She proceeded directly to the boiler room and secretly deposited the letter into the glowing coals of the boiler fire. No good could come of retaining the letter. She took a good, deep breath and let it out slowly. She realized that she had drawn the attention, even for a moment, of a very powerful woman. After watching the last remnants of the letter disappear into ash and smoke, she turned and proceeded to the Burke and Hare's helm to make their way to Paris. Erasmus and J.B. sat across from each other at the table in the common room as Luis Miguel served them breakfast. They had the appearance of patients at an infirmary. They did their best to look stout-hearted, but no reasonable person would have bought the fraudulent demeanor. J.B. had newly applied gauze wrapped about his hands, both of which apparently took a dreadful beating at the previous day when he had landed in the spruce tree, clawing as he descended to get a handhold. Erasmus's head was still swollen, his bandages adding to its girth. They didn't speak much, avoiding the obvious conversation regarding their level of discomfort. The airship moved gently under them as it was released from its moorings. The quietness of the engine was noticeable to Erasmus, compared to the roar of the last 4 days. At the next table, Reginald Wallace held court with a few new passengers who wanted the privilege of flying to Paris on the regatta-winning airship, paying handsomely for the pleasure. He elaborated on beautifully embellished tales of the regatta, stringing together narratives of high-speed heats and breakneck maneuvers, midnight engine overhauls, scheming pilots, and grand racing strategies and tactics. It wasn't that the stories were incorrect, for there was more than a drop of truth in each bit of it, but rather that each had been fluffed up like an oversized pillow until it was soft and safe for the public to ease back into. A few times Erasmus and J.B. responded to Reginald's patter by rolling their eyes and giving each other an "I can't believe he just said that" look. After finishing their meals, J.B. stood up and signaled Erasmus to follow him. Erasmus wiped his mouth on his napkin, stood, and followed J.B. Just within his cabin, Sergeant Fox picked up 2 items that were secreted under his bed and held them out for Erasmus. "I recovered these from the fields of Melcode. The locals saw them fall and gave them to me when I saw that I had survived my descent. I placed them in the cart and pulled them out last night while you were looking for Tobias." The items were both dirty, and J.B. handled them with just his fingertips to try to keep his bandages clean. The Colt 1849 revolver looked like it had landed in the dirt, barrel first. The dirt was packed hard into it, and it was obvious that J.B. had knocked off and brushed off as much as he could. The saber hadn't fared as well. It was irreparably contorted in the middle of the blade. "I wasn't sure if the blade was important in some way, so I retrieved it. The revolver looks like it doesn't have a scratch. Even the wooden handle is unbroken." Erasmus accepted the lost items with acknowledgement of his gratitude and appreciation that J.B. was thinking of more than just himself after his rough landing. Erasmus placed the items in his cabin, planning to clean them later that evening while docked at Paris. He proceeded on to visit the cabin number 2 to see in what activity Lord Ashley was engaged. After his knock, Virat opened the door to reveal that the sitting room was magically transformed into a homey suite with standard issue blankets used as throws over the sofa and the footstools. There was not a silk pillow in sight. Not surprising, given that they had all given their exterior fabric to save JB's life. Lord Ashley was sitting quietly and reading the morning paper from Munich, which he had set aside at seeing Erasmus's smiling face. "Come in, come in." "Can I get you anything, my friend?" Signor Sevilla's breakfast was more than enough. However, I would like to talk to you about the fine art of throwing knives.
Ooh. Okay.
The Paris airship field was busy that day with the Western and transatlantic airships Fidelis preparing to leave for London, freeing up docking tower number 8 for the incoming Burke and Hare. The Fidelis was a commuter airship with nothing more than rows of seats in the passenger hall. The well-attired steward was making his rounds, checking on the comfort of his travelers. He proceeded to the next row of 3 seats. "I pray that you are comfortable. May I see your tickets?" A twig of a man with a shock of wild, frizzy brown hair looked up from a notebook covered with drawings and notes. He produced 3 postcard-sized tickets from his jacket's breast pocket and held them out for the steward. "Welcome aboard, monsieur, and your companions, Mr. Hedgeley and Mr. Martin. If you need anything during your trip, please let me know." He moved to the next row of passengers, unaware of the danger that was about to be transported to London. Erasmus watched the Fidelis gracefully leave the airfield from the window of the Burke and Hare common room, glad to be back in Paris. "I wonder if Sparky knows how she got that scarf," he chuckled to himself. Well, that's actually the end of Back to Paris.
Okay.
So stay tuned, and we will have more Corona story time as we read the Bavarian Airship Regatta.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye.